Hello, I'm Cliff Munson with Rotovac. Take a few minutes to watch this training video and I'm going to cover some very important tips and pointers on how to use and maintain your CFX properly. The CFX continuous flow extractor has an upper half and a lower half. Now the upper half houses your two vacuum motors and your empty pump. The lower half is your dirty water recovery tank. As the dirty water recovery tank starts to fill up with water, there's a float switch in there that activates the empty pump to automatic empty. Now on the front of your machine, you see you have your vacuum hose attachment. On the back of the CFX, you have your three switches. There's two vacuum motor switches and your empty pump switch. Now to take the CFX apart, just undo these two latches and lift the top half straight up. Now what you have down here, these are your two vacuum motor filter screens. You want to make sure these stay clean. And this third screen here is your empty pump screen. You want to make sure that stays clean. Now this steel tube you see right here, that's your float switch tube. And the end of the tube under this protector is your float switch. To remove the protector, twist and just pull it off. And under here you'll see, here's where your float switch is. Now the float switch, as it floats up, turns on the empty pump, and as it goes back down, it turns off the empty pump. So during proper operation, you'll notice your pump is turning on and off, on and off. Now you want to make sure that this stays clean and free of any debris that could stop it from sliding up and down. It needs to slide up and down freely in order to activate the empty pump. Always make sure you replace the empty pump float switch protector on the end of the tube. So you have your two vacuum screens and your empty pump screen and your float switch tube. Now the bottom half of the CFX, this is your dirty water recovery tank basically. You have two view windows on the side so you can see if it's properly operating. And inside here we have our dirty water intake tube with a filter bag on it. Now this filter bag, this will catch any carpet, lint, hair, fiber, things of that nature. And it comes right off by undoing this little string, and you can bring it right off the end of the tube. And keep this clean. Now this tube that's in here, this tube unscrews so you can clean this out. Just grab it, twist it, bring it on out. You notice these holes on the side. This is a diffuser tube. As the air enters the tank at a high velocity, it comes out these 12 1-inch holes at a low velocity, so the water falls down into the tank. You always want to make sure that when you replace your diffuser tube, that the holes are facing the sides of the tank, not straight up and down, but to the sides of the tank. To replace the diffuser tube, put it back in there, and just tighten it up by hand. Once again, make sure that your holes are facing the sides of the tank, not up and down. And then your filter bag just fits right back on over the edge here, over the end. And then you just cinch down the little rope. Now when you go to put the top half back onto the lower half, you want to make sure you put it on with the front and the back. Now again, the front of the machine has the vacuum hoses on it. The back is where your switches are. When you go to put this on, you want to make sure that your float switch tube goes to the left of the diffuser tube, and your screen pickup goes to the right, and it goes all the way down to the base of the tank. Line it up, snap down the latches, and you're ready to go. To hook up for your water supply, we want to remove the aerator from the faucet. Now if it doesn't come off with your hand, a lot of times it'll just unscrew, but if it doesn't, you want to use a cloth and a pair of pliers so that you don't scratch the aerator. So you just put the cloth over it, get the pliers on there, loosen it, and now that aerator should come right off. When it does come off, make sure you keep the washer on there. And then with the proper faucet adapter, make sure you have the right washer on your adapter. screw on the adapter. And then your adapter lead hose goes right onto that. Now once you have it on there, you should just be able to hand cinch that down. Go ahead and turn it on to make sure you don't have any leaks. Now if you do have a little bit of a leak, draping the cloth will contain that leak and make sure it runs down the sink. And then you're ready to go. Now your dirty water empty hose can go to any drain, but the toilet is really the best place to put it. Open the toilet lid, put it all the way down in, close it, and make sure it's in there secure. You wouldn't want that coming out of the toilet. Make sure you get it nice and snug. After you have your empty hose attached, you want to turn on your empty pump. And you shouldn't hear any pump coming on because there's no water in the tank. Now in order to make sure that our empty pump is working, the first thing you want to do, here's your incoming clean water supply line. We have a quick connect right here that you can hook this up to. And now the water is running through this line, filling up the dirty water tank with clean water. And your empty pump should be turning on here in a minute. And we're going to check to make sure the empty pump is operating properly. It should turn on and off. And by the time we've checked to make sure that's working properly, we should have hot water here at the end of our hose and we'll be ready to clean. Make sure your empty pump is, there it goes. Now that's proper operation. The empty pump is turning on and off as the water comes into the tank. And that's the sound of your empty pump that you hear there. Now when I undo this, I'm feeling it right now. I'm waiting for the water to get hot all the way through to this end of the hose. And I see that the empty pump is actually functioning, turning on and off as the float switch goes up and down. Okay, I can feel that the quick connect is nice and hot. We've got hot water coming in. So I undo the quick connect. Hook up the vacuum hose, and now your 1.5-inch vacuum hose fits right inside this 2-inch. And we're ready to start cleaning. Alright, now that we're all hooked up and we've confirmed that our empty pump is working, we're ready to go ahead and start cleaning. Just when you want to start cleaning, make sure you leave your empty pump switch turned on. Go ahead and turn on both vacuum motors and start cleaning. When you're done cleaning, unhook your water line. Take this back over to the machine and hook it up right here. Hook it in. Now follow me. Go over here and turn off the water. Now we can undo our faucet connector. And because this line is still hooked into the machine, all the water in your 50-foot line is being sucked into the machine to purge the machine and clean it out. And then there'll be no water in this line. Turn off your empty pump, turn everything off, and then we go ahead and undo this to coil it up. Now this hose should be pretty much empty of any water. Undo your empty line right here. And as you go to coil this up, make sure you're holding it higher than the toilet or the drain. So when you coil it up, all the water will exit the hose. When you get here to this end, go ahead and connect these together. That way, you won't be dripping any water on the floor as you take your hose out. Remember, when you take the top off of the CFX, don't bang it down on the end of the float switch tube because you have your float switch under there. Now the float switch is a delicate little component, and that's, like I said, what activates the pump to turn it on and off. So when this goes up, the pump turns on, and here's what a proper operating pump sounds like. Now that's running dry with no water. You don't want to let the pump run dry for more than a few seconds or the impeller may seize up on you. And I'm going to show you in a minute how to fix that. It's real simple. But just keep in mind, this is your float switch. It's got to remain clean, and you have to have your protector cover on there or the float switch could get damaged. So make sure that's always on there and don't bang the end of that when you go to take it off to set it down. Now remember, when you're putting the top back onto the base, the filter screen for the empty pump needs to be in the very bottom of the tank down here. Make sure it doesn't get hung up here or hung up on a wheel well. It has to be in the very bottom of the tank to assure that you're picking up the dirty water. So the float switch tube goes on that side. The empty pump pickup goes on this side. So when you're putting it back together, feed it all the way down in there, line it up, and you're good to go. If your empty pump is not working, sometimes pouring a little bit of water into the opening here will loosen up the impeller. If that still doesn't work, we may have to remove the access cover to get to the impeller of the pump to fix it. Here's how you do that. Remove the 4 screws on the plate cover. And the access cover comes right off. Now when you're removing the plate, be careful not to let any of this drop down inside the housing, especially on your last screw coming off. Undo that last screw, hold it all in there, and this is the tricky part. There you go, we got it out without dropping it. If you do drop something down in there, you can take the top half off and shake it upside down and get it back out. Now in here you see, here's your rubber impeller. Here's a replacement impeller. If we needed to replace it, you just put the new one in and cock it in that direction so that the fins are bent just like that. Now if you take it apart, because the pump isn't working and you notice that one of the blades are broken, you can simply take some needle nose pliers, reach in and grab the broken blade and get it out of there, put the pump cover back on there, and it'll run just fine with 1 or 2 blades missing. And then eventually, if you need to replace the entire impeller, you get 2 new impellers with the pump. When you put the pump cover back on, tighten down the screws equally, a little bit at a time on each one. And you should be ready to go. So remember, this pump is made to pump water. You can't let this pump run dry for more than 5 seconds or so, or the pump impeller may heat up and get stuck. If it does get stuck, sometimes pouring a little bit of water into this opening will loosen it up and get it going again. And if that doesn't work, you need to take the pump plate access cover off and remove one of the blades, or maybe even put in a whole new pump impeller. One of the beauties of this pump is it'll pump all kinds of junk and never gets clogged, and it's very easy to work on, so you can always get it working again. Well, that pretty much covers all the key points you need to know to operate your CFX continuous flow extractor. Keep in mind, the first few jobs that you use this on may take you a little bit longer than they should because you're just learning how to use this new machine. Once you've mastered hose management, machine positioning, how to hook up to the faucet, you'll find that this is far easier to use than a standard portable extractor that you have to stop and fill and empty all the time. During your first few jobs, if you do have any questions or concerns, feel free to call us at Rotovac and we'll help you along. Our toll-free number is 888-768-6822. Thanks a lot.